Joining me on India First, Lieutenant General Kamaljit Singh. General Singh is a former army commander and an expert on anti-Khalistan operations that India has carried out. Terry Milvsky is a very well-known author, Blood for Blood, 50 Years of Global Khalistan Project. Khalistani is Director, Global Sikh for Humanity. Gentlemen, my apologies. A lot of breaking news happening today. My apologies for coming in late. But General Singh, I want to understand from you, any human being, let alone a Sikh, should feel free to pray inside a Gurdwara. Ambassador Sandhu was heckled inside a Gurdwara in the United States, and that too on Guru Parv, sir. What do you make of what happened in America?
Gaurav, firstly, Jai Hind and Sat Sri Akal to all the viewers. I greet all your viewers on the Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Guru Parv. See, firstly, it's an isolated heckler, one chap, Himmat Singh or somebody, supported by an odd other guy, not even dressed properly for a Gurdwara. Like Gurpatwant Singh Pannun, he is also dressed without a turban. So here these hecklers who are not following any maryada of that Gurdwara Sahib, they indulge in this isolated kind of an act. And to some extent, I must say, I compliment the congregation which got this person out, allowed, and are more than anybody else, our ambassador, who showed so much of poise. He retained his control, and he was not frowning. He was disgusted. Anybody would be disgusted in such a situation. And he carried on with the entire thing. He listened to Shabad Kirtan. He gave his little advice, which such people are requested. He partook the langar. He would have done seva also, knowing him. So an excellent ambassador.
Okay.
And it's an isolated fringe element. So, Gaurav, they are looking for oxygen of publicity.
But that's are these isolated incidents, I mean, considering, and do they have some kind of state support? Terry Milvsky, are diplomats, are they not even safe in countries that we consider our close strategic partners? Our missions have been targeted in the United Kingdom. Diplomats have been targeted in Canada. Now our ambassador is being heckled in the United States. What do you make of this, sir?
Well, I think it's going to be a long time before we're going to see the Western democracies start trying to police what gets said or not said inside holy places. They're not going to go into Gurdwaras and start taking down notes on who said something that somebody else might object to. That's not going to happen. But I think in this case, it's the surrounding atmosphere we've got to be concerned about. It's not enough to recognize the absurdity of accusing the ambassador of being involved somehow in plotting to kill Mr. Pannun or actually killing Mr. Nijjar on June the 18th. But we also have to recognize the toxicity and the history of this kind of rabble-rousing stuff. It's happened before, and it ended before with actual physical attacks on Indian officials overseas. In each case, there's been this similar rising level of angry rhetoric egged on by Khalistani leaders who use violent language and imagery. Back in '84, India's High Commissioner in Canada was indeed attacked in the streets of Winnipeg. Today, the High Commissioner in Britain was harassed in Scotland, I believe. It's happening again now. It's happening on Long Island. You know, this history does teach us lessons. These attacks did happen, and look at what's happening with Pannun now, for example. He's made threats against Air India. Did he merely say, let's boycott Air India? No, we all know he did not. He said, you're risking your life if you fly on Air India. Now, that's exactly, ominously, what we heard just a couple of weeks before the Kanishka bombing of 1984, when Flight 182 was blown up with the loss of 329 lives, most of them Canadians, by the way. But we also now have this drumbeat of the glorification of martyrs who did engage it, not just in rhetoric, but actual violence. We have the glorification of the Air India bomber, the assassins of Indira Gandhi.
I want to pick up for a moment what you said about the toxicity, the toxic atmosphere being created by the Khalistan supporters. And Khalistani, in your appreciation, why are neither the US nor governments in Canada cracking down on these extremely toxic Khalistan supporters, even though they're involved in alleged gun running, human trafficking, drugs, and crimes that are harming people both in the US and in Canada?
Thank you, Gaurav, and allow me to first, through your prestigious channel, congratulate over 50 million followers. In fact, on behalf of over 50 million followers, people who subscribe to Nanak's ideology across the world, many congratulations. First of all, as a proud Indian, I was at the Long Island Temple just 48 hours ago. I had to come back to India because we had our celebrations too, and I just got back from one. They do not hold a brief for us. These are loud fringe elements which the so-called Western liberal democracies, they breed them, and under the bogey of free speech, they use them. Maybe, now this is my opinion, and Terry can really comment on this. Maybe now this is the Five Eyes who have been actually snooping on each other and not on the dictatorships. And maybe they want to nourish these individuals in some way to try and control the new India, the nimble and the deft foreign minister that we have, and the independent policy that we now follow, in which we do not wish to become an ally, we wish to become a strategic partner. So maybe these Johnnies are tools of the intelligence, because please understand, if not all, but most terrorists are a byproduct of the intelligence agencies across the world. So maybe
that's a very interesting point you raised that, and let me take that to Terry Milski once again. Terry, is that also your appreciation? Could this be pressure tactics by governments in Canada and the United States to keep India in check?
I wish they had a coherent plan, but I think you're overestimating these Western politicians, who mostly are doing what they're doing because of incompetence and ignorance. They're not thinking about what they're doing. They only know that at election time, they've got a nice little thing going. We will look the other way while the martyr floats go by with a diorama celebrating the assassination of Indira Gandhi or glorifying the Air India bombers. We'll look the other way and smile and wave and hustle for votes. And in turn, you'll say nice things about me at the Gurdwara, and if I don't, then you can take your vote somewhere else. So it's a nice little arrangement for Canadian politicians, and they like it the way it is. I don't think they're calculated a scheme where they're going to use spokesmen who pop up at random Gurdwaras and say bad things about Indian officials. They don't know how to use these people. They don't speak the language. They don't know what they're saying.
But the intelligence
they
agencies,
only know
the
one
deep
thing,
state,
they're not going to pay a price at the polls.
permanent deep state. General Singh, what's your appreciation? India's rise. Does America want to keep India in check and uses Canada initially? And then when Canada is not succeeding, the Americans pop in with Pannun when he threatens to take down Air India. It just makes America and Canada look rather silly when it comes to dealing with terrorism.
See, Gaurav, there are 2-3 aspects that you have touched. One is possibility of some of these rebel rousers getting support of intelligence agencies. That is very much on cards. Many of these people also work for US or Canadian and all these kind of agencies.
Yes.
So it's a kind of a leverage that is developed by these agencies and used at appropriate times. But I'll also caution by saying that let's not paint all the countries in one color. There are shades. So in these shades, Canada has managed to acquire a very dark hue, and Canada has to be looked at in a different perspective. There are countries which are willing to go along with us and do law enforcement.
Yes.
Let's strengthen their hands. I would tend to believe that our embassy there should now remain connected with the Gurdwara management and get the religious punishment delivered to these people. After all, Gurdwaras are very
interesting you should say that.
Where you have...
Lalisani, is that possible? I have last 30 seconds on this part of the show. Lalisani, is that possible? Or these Khalistanis have guns and weapons, and that is why Gurdwaras may not want to come forward?
Gaurav, somewhere I think there is method to the madness. We're underestimating. There could be a difference between the intelligence and the way Congress or the State Department thinks.
Okay.
And believe you me, even when Nijjar thing happened, CIA visited them in Canada. Now the way Gurpatwant Singh is challenging Air India, which also flies from America, and in those places there could be Americans too. I mean, there were 84 children. They were Canadian citizens.
Yes.
So I feel somewhere we're underestimating because they know what they're doing. It's only that, they're playing the good cop, bad cop between the United States and
We'll
Canada.
track this
because
story
they probably
closely.
give that